Hi guys, welcome back. Eric's UK here with the fourth instalment of my Pathfinder campaign. Where we left our heroes last time, they had just started a conversion of Keep on the Borderlands / Caves of Chaos. They've been hired by a town called Greykeep to eradicate a humanoid presence in some caves to the east of their town. They have told the party that these humanoids were brought here by a warlord named Warduke, who has since disappeared, leaving his humanoid minions behind. The party had left, or rather used some wagons to try and lure some of the humanoids out, because they figured they didn't want to go into the caves and get butchered. They'd rather lure some of the bad guys out, do them over, than fewer to deal with them in the caves. So they ended up fighting some hobgoblins at the end of the last session, and then retreating back to town. When they came back at the beginning of this session, they found out some goblins had visited the area and basically, by the looks of it, played football, soccer with the heads of the hobgoblins, because obviously goblins and hobgoblins don't get along. Or so it looked to the party anyway. They checked along the road further about, but couldn't find any signs of another ambush point, and worked out they were eventually heading well away from the caves and into the wilderness. So they did a circle, found the hill or mound as it is more, with the caves in, and circled it, and found another way in, about half a mile to the southwest, which they managed to break through a collapsed wall, or cave-in sort of thing, and into a tomb-like area. Now, this was a perfect example of why I like Pathfinder now without XP in it. XP games, you have a habit on players of basically trying to run in and kill everything to get the XP because they need XP in the level. In this instance, they didn't do it. They found two rooms with possible undead. One was a room with a series of thrones with skeletons sitting on it with crowns on their heads, or gems and circlets. They did think they were undead. Don't know why, but they assumed they were, and were going to intercede until one of the party members explained that royal undead are apparently harder than normal ones, which seemed to convince the rest of the party to back off and leave them alone, which I found quite amusing. The second room basically had some like mummified zombie type things, and rather than disturb them, they decided to leave them and carry on. Their explorations, they found another way out leading into the central area of the mound where the other cave entrances are, which they left, and then pretty much we had a huge fight. They ran into some clerics of Asmodeus, who it turns out are agents, minions, whatever you want to call them, of Warduke, and they are basically wondering when he's going to come back. So the party dispatched a load of them. The second group that they found, however, though, was a real tester for them. It was the party's currently second level, and they found 4 second level clerics of Asmodeus. I assumed that these guys weren't expecting combat, so their spells weren't necessarily primed for it. But even so, they had a real heck of a time. The sorcerer got knocked unconscious in the struggle, and one of the clerics escaped to raise the alarm, which ended up with the party engaged with a huge mob of 20 skeletons. They'd given chase to find this guy throwing open the door, basically yelling, "Arise, my minions, arise and destroy the interlopers." Now, normally I wouldn't have bothered with 20 skeletons because that's far too much, but under Pathfinder they're much more balanced, because their hit dice are based on what they were when they were alive, so these things had 8 hit points each, an average armour class, and couldn't hit things for toffee. Unfortunately, neither could the player characters. Their dice rolls were atrocious. Even the fighter just couldn't get anything to roll, a total of above 12. It was crazy. So the fight probably took about a third of the session. And it wasn't until right near the end the party cleric suddenly went, "Hang on, I've got a load of vials of holy water." Duh. If he'd have had them at the beginning, it wouldn't have been a problem. Once he started throwing them into the mix, the skeletons were going down like paper. It was just crazy. They did run into a couple of the other clerics, third level ones this time, and a rather nasty fight. They managed to dispatch those, but the original one who escaped yet again through a secret door, basically coming up behind the party, and they've tracked him back out to the entrance they found before, which leads into the central of the hollow of the hill. Assuming that he's gone to raise the alarm, the party retreated the way they came. Pardon me. Sealing up the entrance behind them and running back to town, selling their loot and discussing what they're going to do next. It was a good session. There was a lot of good roleplay. The session before, it kind of been a bit lax, but I'm putting that down to the heat we had at the time. It was rather warm weather, and it's now back to being something a bit cooler, and I think everyone was comfortable. Yeah, and I think everybody had a good time. It was good. I mean, the fight was both fights were somewhat frustrating because the party just couldn't seem to hit for anything. And whenever the bad guys did seem to hit, they did seem to score natural 20s. Not necessarily critical hits, but they did seem to roll natural 20s. I assume in the next session they're going to go back the same way and basically try another exit, see what they can find. But that's in a week and a half's time. I kind of apologise if this has kind of been a bit of a ramble of words, but considering it was a very small bit of exploration and two fairly big combats, there's not much. I can't really describe it any other way. But that's what happened in the last session, and I'm looking forward to the next one. So I'll see you soon. Take care and good gaming.